This is Lahatle, 135,000 hectares of Kalahari in the Northern Cape. All of this land belongs to the SANDF. It is one of the world's largest battle schools, and it is here that the very latest weapons are tested. The army is proud of the battle school. They say it's a big source of revenue. There's just one problem. In the middle of the base is an area called the Khosies, or the Free Area. It is home to about 300 communal farmers who have resisted all attempts to remove them from their land.
Ja, as hulle pik en graf vat, dan sal hulle my hier uitkry. Vir my kom sê ek moet trek. Ek sal nie trek.
Camped on the outskirts of the base are some of the Tswana people who once lived on the army land. They were forcibly removed to make way for the battle school. 11 years after they successfully lodged their land claim, they are still waiting. They have been here since November, and they say they won't leave until they get land.
1891.
The military is the third largest landowner in the country, but the vast spaces of Lahatle have been contaminated with the debris of army exercises, making it unfit for human habitation.
As a government, we cannot allow civilians to live in a military base of that nature where long-distance weapons are being tested.
As die wat sê ons is in gevaar, dan het hulle vir ons gevaar gekom maak.
Maria Maastorp is a subsistence farmer. She and her family live in the old Tswana school in the middle of the army base. She has been in the Khosies since 1970.
Ons sit hier op onze plek in vrede. Het is iets om te eten, het is hem. Het is om dan moet ons morgen maar weer lobaal om te eten. Maar hier kan ons leven maken. Met ons een paar diertjes. Met die grond wat ons bewerkt om groente te maken. Hier is ons die lijn, ons werk. Kijk nou hoe zwaar krijg die zwart mensen waarin hulle getransport is. Die andere die water vir sy dieren nie. Die andere die probleem, die andere die probleem.
The Tswana people originally lived on 62,000 hectares on what is now the battle school. In 1976, they were moved into the Bantustan known as Tswana, almost 2 hours away by dusty dirt road. They were discarded in 5 desolate villages, far away from the mines and towns on the outskirts of the battle school. Elizabeth Sibanda is a community leader.
Hierdie trekkery is die egbreker van ons almal. Ons het vandag nie manne nie. Die manne sit met ander vrouens daar die kant. Nou, ons wil weer teruggaan. Laat ons manne weer terugkom na ons toe. Ons is moeg en ons is siek. Ons is gedood hierso by hierdie land. Hierdie plek het 2 begrafnisplekke.
The village people are forced to bury their dead on the barren land of exile where they were dumped 27 years ago. These are poor and temporary places where there's a funeral every weekend. Back in the Khosies, people are fighting for the right to be buried on the land where they were born.
Ek wil hier sterwe by my ma, pa, oupa, ouma. Ek wil saam met hulle op hierdie grond bly waar ek gebore is. Ek wil nergens trek nie. My pa was 'n bastard gewees. My ma was 'n Motswana. My ouma was 'n Griekwa en my oupa was 'n Scotch.
Before apartheid intervened, the land was home to a mixed community. For more than 130 years, they lived under the rule of the Tswana chiefs. Other races were welcome. The Tswana and Griqua intermarried. They say life was peaceful and prosperous then. That was before the Tswana people were moved to desert villages, like this one, where the Gatlosa chief, Holele, now lives with his family.
Go Gatlosa re na le motswedi re nwa mo go one re na le tamo e motswedi o isa metse go go yone re nwa mo go ebile re na le masimo a di vegetables a re lema mo teng.
Nee, ons boerdery was baie mooi. Bees, bok, skaap, perd, donkie. Alles. En hulle was mooi vet. Nie soos nou, met die weermag nou so die grond gekom verwoes het. Soos die man nou gekom het met sy pere, was klomp vyeebome, perskebome, daar af. Enige soort vrugte, groente, het ons daar gekry. Mielies, enige ding, pampoene, wat alles, soeteriet, sugar sticks.
Originally, it was only the Botswana people. After that, the other people came in, the Xhosas came in to ask for permission to stay there with us. And the chief allowed them to stay there. And they stayed very harmoniously together with the Botswana people. Then some colored people also came in there. They also asked for permission to stay there. Some of them are still at Kosis.
Hier was wet geweest, hier op hierdie plek, wet. Hier was 'n kraal daaronder. As mens oortree, word daar oor die kraal ingesit, dan word daar 'n pak slag gegee.
Before the removal, the community had a police station, a church, a clinic, shops and schools.
Ek het mos ook 'n reg in die land. Ek het ook mos iets om te sê.
Joseph Free was born at Gatlosa, now called Kosis. He leads a group that refuses to leave the land of their birth. For many years, he defied the apartheid government and its army. 9 years into democracy, he is still fighting.
As 'n ratel vir my hier kom hierso. Of polisie. Want ek weet ek het niks van hulle gevat nie. En ek weet goed, hierdie grond, dis sy grond. Ek meen ek kan enige ding doen. Want as hulle vir my hier uithaal, dan gaan ek uit daar ding doen wat mooi sal vergewe wees in die wêreld. Maar net vir my sê man met vrede, gaan net uit. Dit gaan ek nie doen. Ek gaan close soos 'n borsvleis. Kyk, 'n borsvleis haal jy uit 'n bees of 'n skaap. As jy dip in hom ingooi, hy dood daar binnekant. So dit meen ek met ander woorde, hulle kan my doodskiet.
Joseph Free is our hero. Because at least he's still occupying that small portion of land that we have lost.
Boniface Masiani is another community leader. He was born where the battle school headquarters now stand. His tribe, the Maramane, used to live there. His family was moved to the Bantustan village of Lahatle.
I used to be a head boy because at home we had livestock. That life was very good for us and we could survive from that area.
Gelewe hier, ons het lekker lewe gehad, baie lekker. Saam met die swart mense. Dat was baie lekker.
Black farming communities were not welcome in apartheid South Africa. They were a so-called black spot. In 1976, the Tswana people were loaded onto trucks and driven for hours to 5 barren villages. The Coloureds, by virtue of their status under the Group Areas Act, were allowed to stay, restricted to 14,000 hectares in the middle of the base.
That day when I came home, I just saw the whole village was invaded by a lot of trucks, police, soldiers. And then our house was brought down.
Ons was droevig geweest toe ons daar trek. Want dit is gesê, alles jy, al wil jy nie, jy sal moet trek.
I was in one of the trucks that brought people here. And many people, because of the rush, left their animals behind. Their articles, their furniture got broken on the way. The way it was thrown onto the trucks. They lost furniture, they lost animals.
Dit was lelijk hier, dit was droevig, dit was hartseerlik om te sien hoe dat jou mense wat jy mee saamgebly het, moet so uitgesit word. Hulle was onbeskof.
Ons was baie hartseer geweest die tyd wat ons hier gekom het. Ja, dit was lelijk geweest. Die mense was droevig geweest en die mense was hartseer.
We felt helpless. We felt unwanted. We felt we belonged nowhere. We felt this was not our land apparently. And we even asked ourselves whether we still have a God.
P.W. Botha established his battle school. The land would never be the same again. Since the forced removal in 1977, the Tswana people have lived in 5 isolated villages, now in the Northwest Province. Life in these villages is not easy. There are no clinics, no phones, and there's no work. Water is expensive and scarce, and a trip to the doctor in the nearest town of Kuruman costs 700 rand for a return. What is remarkable here is the tenacity of the human spirit. People make a life in the most oppressive circumstances.
Gore borre ba rona ba re bolela ka mahatshari ba tswang go one yande wa khare utlwang ka teng ke matshelo a siame ya re moga gwa re siamela tota gone nka re ka bere le koa
Re ne re tswa tulong kele tulong ya Longaneng botshelo jwa teng bono bo le bontle go ga tlhosi.
You know, a place like Bendel, really, it's the Kalahari Desert. It is not supposed to be occupied by many people. Immediately, too many people come to occupy it. It becomes a barren desert.
Hierdie plek is nie 'n goeie plek nie. Wat ons hier gekom het, ons het gekom kry, daar is wurms. Hulle sê dit is sandwurms wat ons nie geken het. En die kinders en die groot mense kry nogal asma hierso.
Building houses in this place is a waste of money. A house here cannot last for more than 20 years. But then west of it all, this sand seems to be moving. You find that you build on a level area, but ultimately you find that the sand has moved and it has built sort of a dam around your house.
As dit nou 'n plek waar 'n mens kan bly. Dis 'n plek waar 'n mens kan bly hierson. Ons is te ver in die donder se Kalahari.
Another problem that we are encountering here, our animals, the cattle, the horses, the donkeys, their hoofs become elongated. And ultimately you just have to slaughter it.
Ons het nie net hier agter gebly nie. Omdat ons miskien soos 'n mens kan sê ons is rou en ons is onbeskof, maar ons het voren gedink, wat sal plaasvind? Want dit was altyd onze oë. Ons het gesien waar die mense verskuiwe is. Daar is glad die lewe.
Oké, dit was die kliniek hier zo. En na die mensen nou getrek, dit wat hulle nou trek, kom stoot hulle dit plat met die bulldozer. En dit is die stuk van die ou kliniek. Ons praat van grond en ons praat van water. Daarom wil die mense weier om op te staan. Want daar is 'n vruchtbare, daar is te veel water op.
The army doesn't want to conduct play war when there are civilians and animals around. In 1992, 90% of the coloured community was moved to Journeyman, an area south of the battle school.
Ons wou nie trek nie. En dit was deel van hulle intimidasie teen ons. Ons wou nie trek en hulle besluit, hulle het ons reeds gesê as ons nie wil trek, sal hulle ons in erkvargate.
Despite the sounds and the dangers of war games being played around them, a small group led by Joseph Free refused to leave. For 27 years, the army has been forced to conduct its exercises around them.
En nie maar die plek is onveilig vir ons, maar die plek is onveilig vir hulle nie. Wat is dit?
Daar is glad nie 'n land wat beter is. Ek meen hier in die noord en in die Noordkap. Dit is die beste land.
Die mense wil teruggaan huis toe. Die plek van ons, hy het water gehad. Ons het fonteintjies gehad. Maar nou hierso, ons sukkel met water onder die grond, daar is nie water nie. Die water is skaars onder die grond. Nie bo nie, ek sê onder.
The Horsies is the only part of the battle school that is uncontaminated. About 10 people have died from picking up live ammunition. But the people here say they can live with the danger.
Ons loop elke aanveld toe ons loop jag vir ons vleis, vir ons familielede of vir ons vrouens of vir ons broer en suster. Daar het nooit 'n dier wat onnozel het nog nooit op 'n bom getrap nie.
Die weermag is nou 27 jaar saam met my. Ek kan maar sê die weermag is 'n plakker. Ek is nie 'n plakker.
Die is my land, ek beklei en ek gaan dood hier. Maak nie saak die weermag kan kom as ek nou op baie maniere help my maar gehoor in die lewe uit, maar ek bly.
For 11 years, the claimants, as 3 separate communities, have been waiting for their land. They successfully lodged their claim under Evia de Klerk's government. 11 years and many protests later, the army continues to contaminate the land. They are no closer to being compensated for their loss. In the year 2000, the Ministers of Land and Defence met the communities. They persuaded them to accept alternative land because the battle school is a state asset.
We are saying give us a portion of the land that is not contaminated and then buy neighboring farms to add to that.
A task team was established to identify and buy neighboring farms. There were few willing sellers. Those that were found backed out when the process dragged on for 3 years.
You must realize that it's not easy if somebody walks up to you and say, I want to buy your farm. And then out of the blue, you must make new plans.
Louis Herman farms on 16,000 hectares. That's 2,000 more than the 300 Horsies people live on. He speaks for the farmers in the Kuruman area.
We mustn't make the same mistake again. We mustn't take people from their own land, from where their family have stayed for 100 years, and give it now to somebody else because we've done something wrong to those people some years ago.
We cannot hope that the white farmers will just give away land. That's why, unfortunately, at some stage we'll also have to do the painful things like taking it from them even if they don't want to.
It will end up in a fight. I'm not going to give it away just for nothing.
According to Louis, the land the claimants were given was as good, if not better, than the land they had at Lahatle. He says it was destroyed by communal farming.
But it became poor because of poor management of grazing, poor management of the resources. And that's one of the points that we as commercial farmers are afraid about.
The people who are living at Horsies have not ruined the land. If you go to horses, you see they're still grazing and they still practice communal subsistence farming.
I don't think that we have a future in South Africa or Africa if we don't have successful black neighbors farming next to us and with us. Lots of commercial farmers are negative about becoming a neighbor to a new black community because of theft, because of malpractices, things like setting fire to the veld and you might lose all your grazing, like the loss of cattle, the loss of stock.
Our ancestors' livestock has been stolen by white farmers, and that is how they got enriched also, apart from the land that they also stolen. So who's the thief here?
Lahatle Mochane is a land rights activist with ANCRA, an NGO helping the claimants. The SANDF refuses to give an inch, and attempts to find alternative land have stalled.
The negotiations have failed. It will have to be expropriated. So we are appealing to the powers that be to actually start looking, preparing for that battle, because it will be a battle, it will not be smooth sailing.
Now, but we can't accept people now who are not prepared to make some contribution to a resolution of the problems of the country. History has happened. And I think the spirit that is being adopted by that small minority there is not the spirit this country requires.
Is nou al jare weer terug met hierdie swart government. Maar daar kom ja die beloftes wat hulle vir ons beloof het. Hulle gee dit nie vir ons nie.
In November last year, the Land Claims Court ruled that the Battle School is a national asset. Not 1 hectare will be returned to the claimants. They have leave to appeal. If they lose, the Horsies people will be evicted.
Die apartheid is mos nog verby. Hoekom het hulle besluit dat ek nou uitgaan? Dit is mos 'n dwange verskuiwing.
The Tswana claimants are camping outside the school until they get land. They are in and out of court for trespassing on military ground. Ironic, since no one disputes the land belongs to them.
People are agitated enough already, and if it takes much longer, unfortunately nobody wants to hear this. But the truth is, people will take land.
We feel we are approaching the time when we are reaching the end of our tether. We will soon say we have exhausted all alternatives. Let us now walk back to our land. And maybe we will be taken to jail. We are prepared to go to jail if it is for the land that we have lost.
Ek soek my land. En dit is my eie. As my geboorte.
Die Here het die grond alleen gemaak sonder 'n brigadier, sonder 'n magistraat, sonder 'n prokureur, sonder niks. Hy was net so stopsiel in die